Let's try to understand Enterococcus. So Enterococcus is one of ultimate survivor of this nature. It's a gram positive, and it's normal membrane of your gut. And why do they matter? They matter because they come from serious infections from your hospital patients, right? So they are nosocomial infections. First point. Second point is that they grow in 6.5% NaCl. It means they are resistant to your salt, right? NaCl is the salt, right? So they are resistant. So most bacteria, they die because of, because water gets sucked out of them, because it's like you are floating in this sea, and usually water follows this hyper, osmolarity. So usually water gets sucked, but not from them, because Enterococcus can survive. How? So because they have something called as ion channels. What happened here is that they have these, ion channel. They can maintain this internal pressure. And note that cool thing here is that strep cannot grow on NaCl, and that's the difference between Enterococcus and strep. Okay, so they are bile resistant. It means they can stay in stomach, it can stay in your small intestine, it can stay in your duodenum. So that's very important. One of the species is E. faecium, and bile is a detergent, right? And detergent made by the liver. And what happens is that bile, it cuts off this fats, right? And what happened here is this. Now usually what happened here is the bile is a detergent. It destroys the fat, right? Not destroys, it just emulsifies, right? So what is emulsify? From big globules to small globules, right? So why can't bile work on them? Because why enterococci can, are resistant to bile is because they have been resistant to intestine for years, and they have wall that are resistant to bile. Usually bile is it's the concentration is like 97 is, water, and less 3% are just boiled salts, right? So they have wall resistant of the bile, right? And that's why they can, make problems in biliary tree, right? And it's messed up. They can mess your biliary tree, right? Biliary flow of the bile, right? How the bile flows, I hope we know that it's from hepato cells, from the caniculi, and then duct, and then pancreas puts bicarb in this, and then these caniculi, they are responsible for the flow of water. That's why bile is very watery. And then eventually, duodenum has the bile. So that's how the, bile flow works. Other thing is that they can cause UTI. So gut is near urethra, of course. And what happens is that we, sometimes in hospital, and we use catheter, and then UTI, and then hospitals. I hope we understand this, how the UTI happens. It can cause endocarditis. And how endocarditis happen is that from the UTI infection or from the gut, right, they can travel to the valves, and then they can cause endocarditis. Of course, biliary tree, they can mess up with the biliary tree, they can infect the gallbladder or the bile ducts, of course. Vancomycin resistant enterococcus, right? They are resistant to vancomycins. So for treatment of these, if they can be resistant, and if they are resistant to this vancomycin, we should give new or more powerful linezolid or tigracycline. Tig, whatever you want to call it, tigecycline or linezolid. So that's enterococcus in short. Here I've made a man lost intestinal, and salt water. It's like this is one enterococcus, and like that's how I want to remember this. So that's the picture.